Well, hello everyone. This is Dr. Amig, your friendly rheumatologist, and this is another episode of Unabridged MD. So, first of all, thank you so much for following the podcast. I really appreciate it. Thank you also for asking me some of the episode and what you're interested in listening to. So, thank you so much as well for all the comments and the likes and the reviews. And if you haven't done so, I would really appreciate if you could write a review for us, as this really helps the podcast to go to new places. And that's really what it's about. Okay. So if you like the podcast, if you tune in every week, as it seems like really more and more of you are doing, please share it with a friend and write us a review. It's pretty easy, and it really, really would help us. All right. So this episode is actually about the power of the word, but with a twist. It's a little bit more medical, you're going to see, but it's actually quite interesting. I really, really love when, we know something is real, we know we feel it and so on, and then you have science to prove it. And I just love when this happens. So I couldn't wait to talk about this with you guys. So I'm going to share a story first, and then we're going to go dive in this recent study that I've read, and you're going to see it's really fascinating. So you know how I say often how it's important to listen to what we're saying, because the way you're talking about your body, for example, really matters, and it really does something to your mind and then your body. And so I was with a friend recently, and it's really interesting. So we were rock climbing, and they had hurt their hands a little bit earlier, I think a couple of days earlier. And so then we were climbing, and it's really strenuous sometimes, and you're trying to push yourself and so on. And while we were on the climb, at one point, I hear them say, "Oh, this stupid hand, I cannot believe, like, I'm so mad." And so here are they, like, basically complaining about their hands and how it was hurting them. But instead of nurturing the hand that had already done so much for them, rock climbing can be quite strenuous on the hands. Instead of nurturing that hand or those hands, I can't remember if it was just one finger, I think it was just a couple of fingers, they were talking really badly about the hand. And at one point, so in my head, I was like, well, that doesn't help. I think I actually mentioned that. And I said, well, your hand probably needs rest. And talking about this like this is just not going to do anything. And definitely not going to make it, it's not going to do any good. Well, lo and behold, a couple of minutes later, I heard, ow. And basically, they had hurt their tendon to a point where definitely they could not climb anymore. And it took them quite a bit actually to recover. And the reason I share the story is that it's just so typical for me, because it was so obvious, right? Like it wasn't a big deal. It's an injury caused by I'm still used to say rheumatoid arthritis or rheumatologic condition, but no, in this case, it was an injury caused by climbing. And it had nothing to do with an inflammatory disorder and so on. But it was really like, well, you're talking about your body. And if you're going to talk about your body, you better use really good words. And so I really like, for example, if you hurt yourself, instead of saying, oh, I am in pain, you say, I have a lot of sensation. And so I would laugh very often. Like if I hurt myself, I'd be like, I remember like pinching my hand in the door, and it really gave me a lot of sensations. And the truth is that if you think like this, I think it actually like helps it heal, because you're not focused on the pain. And then, sending tons of love, etc. So now we come to the scientific part, because it's easy to say, well, you should take care of your body, and when there's something that's bothering you in your body, then just nurture it, take care of it. That's important. And I really, really believe this. I believe that our bodies are so wonderfully done, and that the way that we should treat our bodies are no different than the way we're treating our kids. And honestly, like all of us have probably seen kids, and we know that just beating them up doesn't work. Not that I've ever tried to beat up my kids, but if I were, hypothetically, I know that it doesn't work. And so I think it's the same thing with our bodies, like just hurting or talking not with kind words just does not work. Okay, so recently I came across this study where they looked at the way they were talking about hip and hip pain. So in this case, what they were looking at is that if saying about like the way they were talking about the hip pain, either they were saying, well, you have persistent hip pain, you have hip degeneration, or you have hip osteoarthritis. So as a reminder, osteoarthritis is the wear and tear that, as we age, we tend to have. So hip osteoarthritis versus versus persistent hip pain versus hip degeneration. And then they looked at the beliefs of the patients, and they looked at the secondary outcome on if they thought that, they needed surgery at some stage, and what they thought they were needing in terms of treatment. And I thought that's really a cool study, because really we're talking about the same disease. All of those patients had exactly the same issue. They all had osteoarthritis, but the way the healthcare workers were talking to them was with a different type of words, right? Like that is the only difference there was. Well, it was really interesting. The people who had known their condition as hip osteoarthritis or persistent hip pain thought that exercising was less damaging, or that they did not need surgery for the hip issue than if they were told hip degeneration. I mean, how cool is that? If you're using hip degeneration, your patients may feel that they are more likely to need surgery, and they should not exercise, and so on. I just want to point out here that osteoarthritis, which is, what we were all talking about, all of those were the same thing, osteoarthritis, which is wear and tear. For osteoarthritis, we don't have much in terms of treatment, and so it's a lot of lifestyle modification. So if you're overweight, you want to lose weight. If you're not muscular, you want to strengthen your muscle, because the more you strengthen your muscle, the less pressure there is on the joint. You're using your muscle instead of just like weight versus weight, and so then it hurts the cartilage, and so the joints. And so I just thought that was a really, really cool study. It's very specific, just osteoarthritis, and just seeing that the word degeneration led to patients to think that they needed to do things differently than if it had been just called osteoarthritis. So really cool. So the next time that you are in like seeing anything is happening to your body, hopefully nothing is happening to your body, but even anything is happening to your body, that you're hurting yourself or anything, right? Or that your body is hurt, be kind to your body, and know that the words matter, and that even in science, we are proving this more and more. So yeah, I thought that was cool, and I wanted to share it with you. Have a great week. I will see you next week. And as usual, if you are looking for a rheumatologist in Denver or Colorado, or if you are in Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, I have license for those states as well. If you're looking for a rheumatologist, I would love to see you. And we are currently accepting new patients. You can also schedule a discovery call. And as a reminder, we do not take insurance, but we definitely work with insurance so that you get all the medications that you need. Have a great week. Bye-bye.